Here is the Google image search for result for a police lineup. This group of photos probably looks familiar to you as what you picture when I say the words police lineup. Some of these even poke a little fun at the problems associated with police lineups. We've got this one up here. Take a look at it for a second. This person's a foot taller than everyone else, and everyone else looks completely identical to each other. You have one person not only taller, but looks completely different, wearing different clothing. Or this one down here. We've got 5 regular looking people, and then one person who's wearing a jumpsuit and restraints. This is the problem we're going to talk about in this video. So one of the problems we see in standard lineups or stereotypical lineups like these is the likelihood of a witness to compare the participants and pick the one not necessarily that they identify, but the one that looks most like the person they identify. A second problem with stereotypical lineups like this is the problem of suggestiveness. There's an increased likelihood in standard lineups like these that the witness will respond to verbal or nonverbal responses by the administrator, whether those are intentional or unintentional. This leads to an increased risk of someone being identified by a witness who can't affirmatively identify them, but instead is relying on the fact that the administrator of the lineup wanted that person selected. I'm thinking about an example of an episode of, I think it's Law and Order, and this involves a photo array. So a photo array is just where you show them photos and the people aren't physically present. And the investigator is like holding the sheet with the photos and kind of lightly tapping next to the person that he wants chosen. And that's an intentional, very obvious version of what we're talking about. A lot of times it's not intentional. It's just a response to cues that might be naturally given in response to a set of statements by the witness. So let's think of an example. Let's suppose you're the witness to a crime and you're staring at a police lineup. You're not 100% sure, but you say, I'm not sure, number 4. Number 4 looks like maybe, I don't know, number 4. In response to your statement, the administrator of the lineup says, okay, you don't recognize number 4. What about anybody else? Does anyone else look familiar? So this would be a clear signal to the witness that number 4 is not the person. That's not the person they have in custody. It's not the person they suspected. It's not the person they want you to choose. So maybe let's say in the same example, number 4 was the person, and you're kind of wishy-washy. I don't know. You might say something like, it's okay, take your time. Look at number 4 one more time. What do you see? And he might suggest number 4 is the right person. So let's talk about a lineup or photographic array procedure that is designed to prevent these problems from affecting our identification of suspects, at least minimizing the problem as much as possible. The double-blind sequential lineup has a series of best practices in how it should be structured, but we're just going to look at the 2 major features. Number 1, double-blind. Double-blind refers to the scientific procedure in which neither the researcher nor the subject knows the subject's treatment condition. So if we used a medical study as an example, the researcher, the administrator of the study, and the subjects, they don't know who's receiving the treatment and who's not. So you know the term placebo. I might be running the study. You're taking either a placebo or you're taking a drug, and we're going to test its effects. I don't know. You don't know. I don't know what drug, what you're taking. I don't know if you're in the experiment group. I don't know if you're in the control group, and you don't know either. That's what double-blind refers to. In our lineup context, a double-blind lineup is one in which the person administering the lineup doesn't know if a suspect is included or which particular person is the suspect. It's harder to be suggestive if you don't know who to suggest. It's worth noting that it is important to inform the witness that the administrator doesn't know anything so that they are aware of that, and then they can't pick up on clues that aren't really being given. So if the witness thinks the administrator knows, they might be picking up on clues that are completely unintentional and in fact not real. They're not clues at all. They're just interpreting them as clues. So if our witness knows that the administrator of the lineup doesn't know who these individuals are, doesn't know if there is a suspect in the lineup, then we can minimize suggestiveness. The sequential part means that instead of looking at a lineup like we're looking at them right now, the participants don't stand together to be compared to one another, and instead the witness will view each individual one at a time. Typically, the witness will identify them in the affirmative or negative. So I'll hold up a photo. Is this the person? And they'll say yes or they'll say no. And they won't have the opportunity to go back through the lineup and photographs to compare them. I can't look at number 4 again. I either answered yes or I answered no. This is to limit that comparison problem in which the witness selects the person that looks the most like the person they encountered. So there you have it. The double-blind sequential police lineup is not made for movies, but it is the more effective way of limiting suggestiveness and reducing the risk of misidentification.